Yeah, it's funny because this is the first time we do this. We're recording in the car while we're going to the business forum, small
Yeah.
business forum. And it might seem like really off, like doing a podcast while driving the car, but mainly this is what we do, Muhammad and I. We do this every couple of days, right? We're driving to a client or driving to an event.
Yep.
And all we do is we meet on the way and we discuss, we develop ideas on the way. But the thing is, like, we have thought this through. It's not just like randomly happening. And
Mm,
Muhammad, just like you told me the other day that you actually develop most of your ideas while driving.
yeah.
Why is that?
It's weird. There are two things that I usually do and generates the most amount of ideas for me. It's usually either driving or it's walking. So when I'm walking, especially, I mean, there is this concept that is new. Well, it's a very old concept, but it's been modernized by TikTokers of silent walking.
Mhm.
So when you walk
No music, you
with
mean?
no music,
All
nothing,
right,
you're
I
just
get it.
walking. And
Mm.
I like to listen to a lot of podcasts, but sometimes I choose to walk without listening to something or drive without listening to something, a podcast or an audiobook. And somehow ideas, even if I'm not thinking about things, ideas come
Mm.
and ideas regenerate and problems, sometimes old problems that I have, in a way, I start building solutions that I never thought of. And in a way, I was doing some research the other day. There's a state of mind, like when you do repetitive things, like when you're driving,
Mm.
in a way, the brain is kind of working on autopilot.
Mm.
And what happens is because the brain is working on autopilot, it in a way it brings a lot of blood to the brain so it could kind of operate in the background. But what that allows it to do is to utilize this extra level of energy to solve problems that you're not, I would say, directly thinking about. So it becomes more creative. It connects things in a different way.
Yeah.
Same thing happens when you walk. So you
Mm.
walk, you have a rhythm, and I think that they call it the alpha state of the brain. And because of that rhythm that you're not thinking about, like you're not thinking about the walking and the steps, then your brain becomes in a different state, and that allows it to start tackling some of the problems that you've had or you can give it to. Do you have anything similar
Yeah.
that you do?
I do generate a lot of ideas while I'm running
Okay.
normally or walking, but listening to the music.
All
But
right.
what kind of music I listen, I
Mm.
try to tend to like repetitive music, which again,
Yes.
it doesn't require me to think of the lyrics.
Yep.
So it's just like a nice melody, repetitive tone
Mm.
and beat that allows my brain again maybe going into that kind of phasing out phase where I'm not really thinking of the road, I'm not really thinking of the run. I'm just floating with my ideas. And one thing that I really do generate ideas through, again, through my sleep.
Mm.
That's why I keep my creative diary next to my bed. Every time I jump in the middle of the night and start to take notes. But the most likely way to generate ideas, either while I'm driving
Yep.
or when I'm running,
Mm.
is to actually picturing myself explaining my ideas to someone else,
Okay.
which is it really helps me big time because I think that always I push myself like, no, it's not clear enough.
Mm.
Try to explain it in a different way. And the
Yep.
more I explain it, the more features of the idea that comes clearer to my brain. Like, I never thought of this.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
I start to build on the ideas
Yep.
and enhance them as I am imagining myself explaining to an audience
Yep.
or to a group of people in a room. So that would help me a lot developing ideas. But one thing also I really like about our car meetings
Mhm.
is the the concept that I talked to you about. Let me introduce this in a different way. Um, in early 2000 up to 2010 or 12, I was assigned to be a lecturer and teacher at the French Fashion University of Dubai,
Mm.
and used to teach creative thinking process.
Yep.
Right. And in that time, I was also lucky enough to the dean of the university allow me to experiment with different methods of delivering the creative process. And then one of the things that I realized that most of the students would come back every day, and they come at this and sit at the same exact location.
Yep.
So you can see them every day coming back to the same chair with the same perspective and trying to do the most creative process that they can ever think. And eventually, after a while, I realized that the level of creativity starts to drop.
Yep.
And then I came up with an idea switching perspective. So I insisted on every day, each one of them would sit completely in a different room or a different perspective. And then I witnessed the creativity boosted up, because once you change perspective,
Yep.
the environment, then your brain is actually leaving the comfort zone and trying to explore a new zone.
Yep.
And this is where it boosted a lot of creativity around the room. So again, coming back to our when we changed the environment from the office to the car,
Yep.
and watching every day different path, watching different cars, different atmosphere, different weather, it all stimulates our brains to come up with new challenges, new ideas, and perhaps coming up with new solutions.
Yeah.
Do you agree with this idea?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you remember, I mean, again, there's never a dull moment between us. But in a way, what I've noticed is that we do have more, in a way, more creative solutions when we are putting ourselves in different settings.
Right.
You remember a few weeks ago we went and we had a 2-hour walk and discussion in the city at night. It's just the walking. It's just as you said,
environment.
The environment changes. And I, in a way, I suggest any person who's having a mental, I would say, block or a creative block, to try and take the work outside. Like you could take your laptop and sit in the garden, go in a cafe,
or down in the city. Yeah.
Exactly right. When you have a meeting, especially if it's a in-person meeting, I mean, you could insist on having, especially if you have a close friend or a partner in business, insist on a walking meeting where you go through the same, I would say, items, but you're actually moving, you're actually increasing your activity, but also in a way changing scenery, changing environment. That allows you and us to really kind of not only in a way get to the solutions and ideas, but also be stimulated by different things. So as we walk, we will see, I don't know, a board with a new advertisement or a marketing, and say, look at this, and that generates a discussion that will eventually help us in our business. As we walk, we see a new business model, and we say, this looks interesting. It reminds me of this thing that I did back in this, and so on.
So then the conversations start to grow and evolve in different aspects.
Exactly right. Yeah, and it's really, I mean, you mentioned that always, which is about having an open mindset, having the activated, in a way, approach to being open to receiving ideas and interacting with ideas. If you are sitting in an office and
it's limited.
This is the only space, this is the only
stimulates your brain.
It's really hard to see and interact with new ideas and new things. So it's both kind of I would say from a mental point of view that it's great because it's activity and it's moving around, and it's actually good for the eye as well to move into the nature and see things. But also from a creativity point of view, it actually stimulates you to generate and interact with other ideas. And really what makes the difference, and this is kind of what I've seen with a lot of, I would say, entrepreneurial mindset, what makes a difference is being open to interact with new ideas and new concepts, but really thinking of anything outside of you, thinking how you could implement that in your own life, in your own business, in your own thing. So when you see anything, big or small, you say, what can I learn from this that I could implement and improve myself personally, or my business, or my venture, or my organization?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Are you familiar with the concept thinking in and out?
No. In and
Yeah,
out.
that's in and out thinking concept. It's a concept that's been created by the Buffalo State of New York for Creative Thinking University.
Yep.
And the in and out thinking is something that I practiced with my students before, and I practice also with my kids, with other friends. Is where we're talking about one topic.
Yep.
I encourage you to have a note in front of you, and any new idea that is out of our context of discussion, just write it down. Right. So what they have realized when they're neuro scientists, they realize that the brain is actually on a journey of in and out of the conversation. So you're listening to someone, but you're not 100% listening to that someone.
Yeah.
So there's always a gaps where your mind, like you listen to one word that the speaker said, and this one word triggers some a far memory or a feeling or something that your brain goes for 10-15 seconds and wander around that idea, and then suddenly you come back to the conversation and you engage again for like a minute or 40 seconds, and then again you hear something or you watch something, and then your brain does that again. So what I used to tell my students, every time you have an idea out of the conversation idea, just write it as a bullet point, and then at the end of the conversation I pull out all those ideas and start to discussing with them, why did you have this idea? What actually made your brain wander that way? And then building on that connection between what I was teaching and what the idea came from, massive creativity comes along, and then it shows you how your brain is actually connecting dots that it seems for the first they're not connected or they're irrelevant, and then suddenly your brain making the connection and wandering around. And this helps us also expand our concept of discussion. So that's the in and out mythology of having creative brainstorming in a group.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about it because I mean, for me this is a new concept, but the concept that it reminds me of is how you are meant to have a place where you record ideas, you record in a way new concepts, I would say new directions. So for me, well, it's a personal thing. You could have it as a journal next to your bed, or you could have it as a list of things somewhere written. Or for me, for example, I have a digital format on some of the tools that I use online, where every time I'm driving or I'm sitting down or I'm in a meeting, as you mentioned, and my mind wanders and thinks of a new combination of ideas of a business or an organization or a not-for-profit or a charity or an item or a feature or a product, I go to that space. I call it the idea space, and I put that there. Sometimes all I do is I press record on my phone or
you start talking,
and I'll just start talking. This is a nice concept that I'm thinking of. Imagine if there is this. These are the people that could benefit from it. This is how it can be done. These are the partners. So basically what you're doing is you're dumping that out idea or that new idea into a space. And what that allows you to do, in your case, you're gathering all of those ideas, let's say in a session. But in my case, it's about generating ideas into the future, where with time, you'll meet the right person 2 years later and say, if you remember, every now and then I say, remember, we're talking about this thing 2 years ago. I wrote like this business idea, which was kind of crazy at the time. But now it probably makes sense to implement it. But just the concept and the practice of recording your ideas, and really, I would say, not just having them somewhere, but going back to them and seeing what else can I do with this idea? How else can I kind of implement something like this? Or who else could I support to implement such an idea or give this idea to as a gift or as a partnership or as a new venture that we could establish?
Just to let the people know that we have created a creative pool. It's a digital space, but we dump all those, or we capture. I wouldn't like to say dump. I would like to say capture all those creative ideas, no matter how silly or insignificant seems at the moment. Just put them there, because eventually one day you're gonna get back to those ideas alone or with someone like your co-founder or your business partner or even a friend. and dig more into those ideas and pick out of them something that solves a future problem. And this is really important to everyone, I think, to have this kind of creative bank of ideas. And don't give up on ideas, because most of the people, they will have an idea that I used to know in the past, and still know some of them are like, they have a great idea, and then they tend to like, okay, later I will attend to it. And the moment you say later and you don't register it and capture it somewhere, it's lost, and probably lost forever, because your brain would never perhaps remember it never again. So it is really important to have this creative bank pool where you actually capture everything and leave them. One day you're gonna get back to pick on them and develop them to something else. And that would leave me with the new things that also I would like to talk about today, is how we actually take a single idea, and the process of building and brainstorming and criticizing and developing the idea from just a great idea into a more developed concept. And we challenge each other, and eventually we will end up with a plan. So idea, concept, plan, that's what I wanted to pick your brain about, how to make one idea into an actual plan that you can take to the real world and apply. In whether it was in business or whether it was in personal aspect.
I think something that I pay attention to when meeting new people is most people have this tendency to wanting to get to the solution fast.
Right away.
So I present a problem or a challenge, and then we say, the road is congested, there's traffic, and why is that? And then we start discussing, maybe because there's road work, maybe because the time of the day is like this, and then we have very quickly moved to the solution phase. We say, okay, then all we need to do is build more roads, or all we need to do is change the time of the starting of the day, or whatever. And because most people are uncomfortable in that middle ground, so you start a discussion and ideation process through a diversion kind of process, where you start expanding. And then there is this zone in the middle, which is really before the conversions into a solution, where you're actually still, in a way, you thought of the many challenges, you thought of the things, and now you're ready to go ahead and start creating solutions. But it's really through that period of this space of time, and this challenging space, where you have to keep yourself there for a bit extra, just to kind of get deeper, to challenge yourself with whatever ideas you're putting forward, and also to be open to be challenged with those ideas and solutions and direction you're taking. So I would say a great mindset is that really looks at this space and in a way enjoys the process of being challenged and enjoys the process of challenging. But the very important thing that people need to realize is you don't challenge because you want to save your ego. You challenge because there is a target, which is an aim and an objective, which is really, let's find a better, I would say, pathway into a solution that is more effective. And same thing applies when you're being challenged. You have to realize that the person who's challenging the idea, not you, is actually having the same goal and objective as you, which is, let's find a better solution and a better pathway to that solution. And again, most people find it difficult to stay in that challenging space, challenging themselves and being challenged by other ideas, and also find it really difficult in really kind of trying to, in a way, listen to criticism and listen to challenging views that don't match what they believe in, without thinking that I need to defend my idea rather than I need to defend the movement towards a better solution. And this happens a lot between us two, where we start with something, whether it's a meeting with a client, or whether a new business idea, or whether it's a product that we're developing. And we really, I think, sometimes go harsh on ourselves and on each other, and really kind of try to criticize not for the sake of criticism, but criticize the idea. Can we do it better? How can we do it better? What if? How will we do things differently? And how could you really, in a way, use whatever we've started with in a better way? Because you never have a perfect solution, you never have a perfect scenario. And even you had a perfect solution, things change, scenarios change, environments change, markets change, people change. So this continuous, I would say, continuous need for improvement is something that we believe in and we practice on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The things that most of the people would normally, when I say normally, when you say like you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable,
Yes.
and then this is like, what do you mean? Like, how can I be comfortable being uncomfortable? It's uncomfortable zone. That's exactly what you need to train your brain on adapting to uncomfortable situation, because this is where you challenge your brain the most. And this is where your brain actually come up with outstanding solutions for a long-lasting or sophisticated problems. But by challenging each other's, by challenging our, or what normally they say, playing the advocates, the devil's advocate,
Yeah.
where you actually always say like, what if the client didn't like this? What if the client has a different needs? What if the group that we're mentoring or the group we're working with didn't understand enough English? What if?
Yeah.
And then each what if would actually lead to a different conversation, perhaps longer conversation, where, okay, if that was the case, what can we do to improve our approach? What can we do to improve our solution? And then eventually also having to walk the extra miles, I would say not 1 mile, extra miles in the process that we normally talk about. It's not the 5 stars, it's the 10, 11, even 13 stars that you wish for your services, or you wish for programs, or you wish for solutions to reach eventually. And that would help you redesign and regenerate solutions and redesign programs or services or products, even to meet with the other groups' needs and requests and perhaps potential satisfaction.
Amazing. Yes.
And this is probably bringing us back to the way we are actually building our team. You remember when we started to recruit people, and now we're having like really a nice, beautiful group of creative minds. We took the same approach.
Yep.
Like whenever someone comes along, we set a lot of questions. And we ask them a lot of unexpected questions. Are you how do you see yourself today compared with yesterday? How would you see yourself tomorrow compared to today? Are you willing to grow? And if you're willing to grow, where are the areas that you want to grow?
What are you being challenged?
Is there? Are you fully satisfied? Where are you? Or you still aspiring to more growth, more skills, more mindset? And then according to each candidate, the answers would actually dictate the outcome of the recruitment process, because eventually we really love to see people grow as we're growing. And this is the culture that we're trying to build into our company, although we are starting a little company at the moment. But eventually, when you grow the roots of the culture right from the start, as I mentioned earlier, I think the culture is not like a book or a code that has been written somewhere and forgotten. The culture is an entity. It's a living entity that actually develops with people around it, and people are using it, and it would grow into something bigger, and it would always interact with the environment, always interact with the mindset. So the more you put into that culture to be rich and empowering for the team and for ourselves, the bigger the values that we will see in the future into our team.
That's absolutely right. And especially those, I would say, first few people that you bring on board, they usually, and this is something we tell people that we help in terms of creating a business, especially in the scaling up side of things. So most businesses that start with a single sole founder that does everything eventually needs to get a stage. And if you remember, this time last year, we came to the same to the same
yeah.
event, which was the Small Business Forum or Small Business Expo. And we had just started the company with nothing. It's just me, you, laptops,
Yeah.
sitting in a cafe, discussing how we could offer
We
something.
didn't even have business cards.
No business cards. Yeah. And it's really, when you're starting the business, you are everything. So you do the marketing, you do the finance, you do the you do the design, you do everything. All right. You do the sales, you create the website yourself, and so on and so on. But in a way, especially when you reach a stage where you are ready to develop into that next phase, which you want to, in a way, you get to a stage where you want to start hiring people and bringing on board team members. It's very, very important. I mean, it's great that we have two founders, and that helps. But whether you're on your own or two founders or three founders, when you start bringing people on board, you really need to make sure that you have a culture that is defined and is, in a way, understandable by yourself as founders, but also something that you can share with people, because that is the thing that people will be attracted to. Yes, you may offer a great salary, you may offer a great
Working space,
or whatever. What really sets you apart and what really makes people be attracted to you and your company and your business is actually the culture and the vision you have, not for yourself and for your company, but for them. What would my company do for you as someone who's going to be part of this company that you could not get anywhere else? How could you get 10 times more from working with me and working for my company than you would have if you worked on your own or for any other company? If you cannot answer that question, then you really need to go back and think, what am I really offering for people to join my company? And if it's just the salary, if it's just the working space, then you need to work on really your why and the purpose behind your company. Interesting. Expo. There was a good number of businesses, organizations, tools, but also service providers. We found a lot of service providers that were exhibiting today. In general, what's your feedback?
Yeah, I realized there's a lot of tendency of that. Last year it was a lot bigger than this year, and this is something that I think there are reason for that. And this year also I realized there's a lot of tendency on supporting entrepreneurship and small businesses, and not only from government, from other organizations.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because this is, again, it's aligned with what we're trying to do. A lot of interesting discussions around the habilitation of people coming new to Australia and what are the challenges that they're facing in their journey, whether it was in employment or self-employment. We definitely need to catch up with some of those people because they're really offering some kind of tailored services to these cohort of people. What I realized as well, they are more leaning towards more tools, more technology in the space. Instead of last year, it was more like personal approach. This year is more like kind of systematic approach to these kind of services and supporting to people.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a surprise that people in general understand that technology is going to change the way people work.
Yeah.
And a lot of jobs that exist now may not exist in the near future with AI and machine learning and different technologies that are coming online every day. And also even as the job that exists in another few years, it will be done differently and probably done by a different skill set that people need to understand how to get there. And also the market is becoming accessible to people. So more and more people could start from their own home while they have a job. They could actually open up a business. They can start offering services. They don't need to create, let's say, a physical product. They can have a digital product. They could have a consulting
Digital
service.
service as well. Yeah.
Exactly right. So they can offer their skills and expertise. Sometimes they can just moderate and facilitate other people's skills. So there are new opportunities that are coming online every single day for people to utilize to have a side hustle or have a business or take their ideas and implement them in a business model. Now, what that means is that there is probably more need for tools, more needs for people that understand that journey, and there is a need for the support, especially around the mentality of what it takes for you to move from the mentality of working for someone, mentality of having a 9 to 5 job where you switch off, you go home, and you have a life, to a mentality where you're there 24/7 thinking about your business. I mean, I encourage people to switch off and take the time off and relax and don't kind of compete for the sake of competition, because this is a very long game and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You can't just say, I'll do 24/7 for the next 6 months, then I'm going to burn, and then I'm not going to have a successful business. You like to succeed, you actually need to take care of yourself as you're going. But regardless, it's a different mentality when you're thinking about running your own business versus having a job, because you care about every single part of that business. And if the business fails, then you have a higher risk. Whereas if you're employed by someone and that company fails, you just go and find another employer. And the second thing is the reward is much, much greater. So yes, there is a risk, but if things work out, then you end up with a large reward, which is in the form of a successful business that you could grow, and financial, but also well-being and impact in the community, which is also something that we care about. So the reward of having an impact in the community is big as well. So from what we saw today, there is both government, private sector, and services and corporate. There is a realization that more and more people very soon will be operating their own business and needing digitals and other tools and support in the system.
Yeah. Well, my take would be going into two points, like very clear points to people who are coming to Australia, or people who are actually existing in Australia, that the market is getting tougher and easier at the same time, but there's help available, which is most of the people tend to disregard or look away from. There is help available from either from organization or small organizations or so small companies, or even people who are knowledgeable in the space. So they need to consider looking further and ask more questions and finding the right people to align with so they can go through the journey. No one can do it alone. That's take number one. The take number two that I would suggest to people is it's good to have the knowledge of the tools. It's good to have the knowledge of the technology and leveraging the technology. But then again, if you yourself don't dig deeper into your values and into your main purpose of your life first, and then second of why you're doing this business, then the tool's not going to help you.
Of course.
So you need to have both balance between using the tools and digging deeper into your values and why you're doing what you're doing. And this is partly what we do with other businesses and partners around the space. We help them navigate the journey inside and discover the real values of themselves first. And then when hard times like today's or like this era, like what we've witnessed here, is the lack of other small businesses who are willing to participate in such forums, perhaps for financial difficulties, for unclarity of the coming market in the near time in the future. So this is where they really need to go back and dig deeper, because just to run a normal successful business, and then in the good times it's easy, but in the hard times where it's really difficult, then this is where you need to lean back into your values and lean back into the purpose of why we're doing, and that would help you go and navigate through hard times successfully. These are the two takes that I think that we really need to focus on with with other people who are really willing to step into the entrepreneurship journey.
Beautiful. So, I totally agree. I think during this financial, let's say, downturn, it's even more important to use your value and your purpose in your business. One, it gives you strength to go through the tough times.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to give up sometimes than to say, I'm going to spend the next 2 years struggling a bit for a larger reward later. And the second thing is also, we believe that to truly tell your story, to truly market your business, it starts with you, your why, and your purpose. And unless you embed your story and your passion and your mission and vision into your business, you will not have a truly, I would say, impactful business that you could be proud of, that is successful financially, but it's also rewarding and meaningful internally to you and the people around you.
Yep. Without values and without passion that you have in your life, it's easier to quit, especially in this space where the risk is high, but also the return is higher. But you really need to have that resilience. You really need to have that faith in yourself and your vision, why you're doing what you're doing. Otherwise, you will skip and you will turn away from your business, which is not what we want you to do.
Exactly.
And not what you want yourself to do. Actually, you want to go forward, and you're gonna grow, and you want to have a better vision, better business, and better life. This is like the bottom line of
Beautiful.
Yep.
So to wrap up for today, maybe one or two things, takeaways from all of today, the discussion we had earlier in the car and the expo that we went to and the discussion now.
One thing is allow yourself to step back and reflect on your life, which is where we started our discussion. It's good to have a busy life, but it's always good to also have a time for yourself, either walking or car trips or maybe running or reading could be also a way to reflect and see the journey from a third party perspective instead of being into the journey. Just step back and look at where you're heading. What are your goals? Am I doing the right thing? Can I do it better? What can I do to make it better? Am I having this conversation with the right people or with the wrong people? And if I'm not finding the right people, how can I find the right people to participate in this kind of productive, very powerful and insightful conversation, and be honest of those conversations. So even if it makes you feel uncomfortable, it's even better. That means there's something that you can improve, something that you can work on and develop. And the other two takes I just told you about this, like you're not alone, there's always help. So just seek more help and ask the right people how to get to help you out, and then do it your way. So it's not always one set of things, like one party would have all the solutions for you. No, you have to grab something from this party, something from the other party, and combine them in a way that suits you as a person, because every one of us is very individual and very unique. So you need to grab and assemble things and solutions that suits you as a person, not taking like one solution that works for everyone. That doesn't work that way.
Great. And for me, I mean, you covered the 2 points that I wanted to raise around values.
Sorry.
Around, I think we just kind of talked about it, which is really, in a way, doing it slowly, especially around running a business. Run a business, develop it based on your pace, based on your energy, because eventually you need a successful business in the long run is much, much better than a very fast business that's going to collapse. Going to collapse. So do it for the long run, for you and for the people around you. And something else that I, in a way, kept reflecting on when I was talking to different people at the expo is, in a way, give value. When you have the opportunity to talk to people, and when you have someone in front of you, someone new, kind of touches on what we started the discussion with initially, which was go to a new space, go to a new setting, and allow yourself to interact with the new space. And as you're doing that, think of the possibilities. Think of what could we do together, or what could I use from this thing. So as we were talking to people, every person we talked to, I kept thinking to myself, how do I, in a way, collaborate with this person or with this organization or this business? Or what does this business use as tools or a strategy or a model or a marketing approach that I could build into my business? So the take there is, in a way, allow yourself to move into these new spaces, new settings, but then be open to possibilities, and always seek those possibilities by giving from, opening up yourself to the potential partnership and potential, I would say, transformation that you could lead. So with that, this has been a great podcast session. In the car, no production team behind it, just me and Omar in the car, and we're looking forward to another session like this. I think this was fun.
Yeah, it was. Actually, I enjoyed it more than the other podcast.
Amazing.
It feels and sounds very authentic for me, because this is what we do all the time, but without the camera. So just adding the camera, it makes it even more fun, because we're sharing more things and we're opening up to audience that they never saw us doing this part of our journey. So yeah, let's do it more often.
Amazing. All right. See you next time then.